All right, guys. So we've got good old Geoff, and Geoff and I, we've done a lot together. It's been a third interview, and we've gone a few months back. We've always spoken, always stayed in touch. Geoff's a very, I would say, a controversial person to some extent, but also very, very real. And one of the good things I like doing is, I've got a bit of a following. I've got a lot of people following me. Things are picking up, from my side, especially from this pandemic. More and more connections, I notice, more and more people coming online, and not enough time in the office. So me and Geoff have touched back. We said, look, 2021, Geoff has got a lot on his plate. He wants to share with us how the trends have changed from 2020 to 2021. Where we're going in 2021. Geoff did mention a few things about how the morale is changing within companies, and he's going to give his overview of where we are taking this moving ahead. So there's a few questions we're going to touch upon. Geoff, it's great to have you.
Pleasure. You called me old, but I don't know what old is anymore. So
Especially during the pandemic when we're at home.
yeah, exactly.
So it's always interesting, Geoff, to go back with you. So there's going to be 5 questions. Geoff, first things first is you spoke a lot about, about what happened in the past with previous interviews. We talked about the book, we talked about what you're doing. Where are you going now with this? You spoke about purposeful discussion. A lot of it's in the book, but where are you going with this? And where are we going now with this transition from COVID, the whole shebang, the companies to 2021? Yeah.
You got 2 really interesting questions there. One, where am I going with this? I've got a separate agenda, as you know, when it comes to my thoughts and my thinking, and well, look, yeah, and it definitely deserves a lot of consideration. But I think what I'd like to do is, with where I'm going with it, I'd like to come back to. I'd like to, let's talk about 2021. I want to talk about 2021 and beyond, because I think there is a bigger play here. There's a bigger picture, and well, COVID-19, and then everyone is absolutely sick to death.
They don't know where they're standing with it, right? No, they can't.
Everyone's had enough of it. We all have. But there's some great things that have come out of this. Okay, so I talked about entrepreneurialism. I talk about the entrepreneurial spirit. I talk about people that have actually said, "I'm not interested in what's going on in the landscape. We've got to survive. We've got to thrive." Let's get that bit straight. We've got to thrive. COVID-19 has changed the whole experience of actually being a human being, or an employee, or a customer, or a stakeholder, or an investor, forever. Okay, so we're not going to go back to that, right? Let's get that bit straight. So I always said that I saw the 4th industrial revolution in, very much in the way that the 2nd and the 3rd industrial revolution came together. All right, and they came together in a very short space of time. So the 4th industrial revolution, everyone's saying this is the 4th industrial revolution, right? And they're saying, this is the generation of AI and quantum. Well, yeah, that's all well and good, and you're going to see more of that. But I don't necessarily think you're going to be seeing a lot of this techno verbiage converted in the way that we're seeing it across the media. So look, China released that it's now already working on 6G. So there was all of that discussion around Hawaii, the 5G revolution, how this, and now they've got a few years to actually get all the infrastructure of 5G out. What you probably are going to find is, by the time they strip it out, by the time they get 5G working, 6G's already arrived.
Wow. So they're really talking about 6G. Okay.
We are talking about 6G. And unprecedentedly, the behavior. Let's get the behavior piece. I reckon, and I believe, in the last 200 days, that we've accelerated our behavior as humans, okay, by at least 6-7 years, right? Which would make sense that if the 4th industrial revolution is coming, then the 5th could actually be alongside it. even though most people believe that 2020 was the beginning of, on the foresight of that. Second thing, I've always said that data cannot be data on its own. We always talked about how meaningful is the data. Are we working with smarter data connectivity? And the answer to that question is no. In fact, we're dealing with a lot of legacy systems. We thought, and I've certainly spoken on the fact that this is a great opportunity for leadership in all areas of business, but importantly in innovation. This was the period that people could be locked away and do their best work, and as a direct result of that, they can only do that, and technology is only going to work effectively if you've got both a human interface, and human is at the center, of being centric in the future of data. Now, there's been experiments with human beings with technology within them, right? I don't know if you're aware of that, but there has been experiments, and so yes, it's not just about speed, because what's the point of having speed with non-meaningful data? What's the point? Right, that's the point, because you're going to speed, you're going to have a tsunami coming forward with new applications and new ideas. You're a big fan of blockchain, and maybe there's going to be new revelations there. But the bottom line is, what's the point if you can't connect? This has got to be all about connecting people and data together. And look, the regulators are very big on this, because regulations talking about, okay, we've got e-privacy, we've got GDPR, we're talking PECA 2, we're talking about reshaping regulations. And if anything, regulations are going to get heavier, but people are at the center of what we're describing. And now I come back to what you said to me earlier. What do I consider being the forward direction for 2021? I think it's going to be about fostering more trust within data, within organizations, within leadership. I think it's going to be company employees, and the human part of this want to know that they are a part of a purpose, they're a part of a vision, they're part of the vision, the mission, and the values that my peers, my boss, my line manager, my board of directors are going to share. And they're going to be unified. They're going to share the fact that the company has a journey. They're embracing me. They're listening to me. They're being more empathetic to me. They're understanding my issues. And they still want me to be a part of the purpose. And we've got to be spending more time in these areas, because we talk about in data, we talk about the user experience, but actually we've got to talk about the employee experience. Communications is key. I said to you in a previous chat that the World Economic Forum, said that if you want to save your life in the next 10 years, from 2020 to 2030, that you've got to have a degree in EI, which is emotional intelligence, right? And it's quite true, because this is about communications. This is about openness. This is about transparency. This is about looking after your people. There was no better time to look after the people that surround you than there was through this last 200 days, because there's mortgages at stake, there's rents at stake, there's food that's got to be put on the table, there's families, and God help us, there's also the homeless, and money needs to be going around in the economy, because it needs to reach all of those people. And if we don't have money, we can't share, we can't give. If employers can't give bonuses, that has a dramatic effect on the economy. Although the RPI was definitely up in October, and it's looking now with Black Friday and Cyber Monday that we're going to have a better retail, as a direct result. Great, but then we still got to come into January next year. At January, February, March, and companies need their pipelines. They need their pipelines.
So that's a really intelligent answer, Geoff. I think there's a lot to take in there for people who are watching this and going to watch these video interviews that I do, as they always do. But in terms of the corporate side, where are we going with corporate now? We've got the pandemic, we've got the companies. I see a lot of fear coming ahead of us. In terms of the fact that companies are cutting back. What are they thinking now? What are the big firms thinking here? And where are they pushing this? Because the rate of digitization is moving quite fast. Would you agree?
I would, but billions have been put into some research and development, which I'm not necessarily sure that some of the initiatives and some of the investments that have been made are actually going to work, i.e. you can't automate everything. And they've woken up to this, that it's okay to automate, but where's the human part of this? Where's the human element? And you
Would that be
can't
replaced? I think that's going to be
design something that doesn't have humans at the center. Culture. I've talked to you before about why culture is so important, right? We've got to start being open. We've got to have inclusion. Okay, inclusion. And I think that if you look at any media posts now, particularly on LinkedIn or business posts, you're going to hear the words culture. You're going to hear the words trust. You're going to hear the words purpose, because employees need to trust that the employer has got their best interest at heart, that they're going to be spending with knowledge sharing, knowledge management, upskilling, training. These are the whole basis of the whole economy that we've got to start raising the bar, not just in the fact of the speed that we're transmitting the technology. Look, I can take gigabytes or petabytes and I can have compression, great compression. I can reduce that to 90% and I can push the speed. But what am I pushing? Who am I pushing it to? How does that become a defined outcome? We saw that with working from home. Everybody says, great, I'm working from home, no commute, and I'm super busy. Busy doing what? Are you doing activity? Or are you actually producing productivity with defined outcomes, what actually, when applied, makes a true value to the business? Boards of directors have to step up. Leadership has to step up. We've got, we're at the very beginning of a very, very powerful journey. And people have got to realize that if the fifth industrial revolution comes in, as I'm predicting, okay, as I'm stating, then we're talking about a completely life-changing agenda. So the issue of trust, the issue of purpose within your business and within your life has a power of importance. Because we've got to deal with government, we've got to deal with corporate, and we've got to deal with life at home, actually, because there's been so much disparity, so much has fragmented through the last 200 days. It's now about sustaining, and it's about building, and it's about building a better future for all of us as a direct result of that.
Interesting. So my next question is Geoff, where do you see the key technologies in 2021? You know, where do you see us moving? What's your goal? Where do you see us moving ahead in terms of the tech side? You know, the rate of the way things are moving. What are corporations doing, and how are we going to change now from 2020 to 2021, post-pandemic, post-vaccine, post, you know, where are we going with this?
Well, let's get something straight. I think the vaccines start, you know, from the pandemic point of view. But if you go back 10 years, they try to automate leadership. They try to automate objectives with people. They realize you just can't do that, right? You know, and look, don't get me wrong. I think there are jobs that are going to be lost. Let's get that straight. Okay. Let's get that straight. Jobs will be lost in certain areas, but innovation is all about creating new. And that's why humans need to be at the center of new, because humans are what make the difference between having a application or a piece of technology that is just technology to making it more meaningful. Meaningful data. Data has got to be storytelling, because that's what humans do, right? So you've got to be out, you know, you've got to get to a point that I know Naz. I know that Naz has got this preference and profile. And if I'm going to send it to Naz, it's got to be in symmetry and aligned. It can't be garbage that's been sent across the internet like it has been in the last few years, where I get 200 emails where I'm spending my whole life on the delete button. That's not useful. And in business, in exactly the same way, there are going to be times when you need to do face-to-face. There will be times when you absolutely need to work on technology. And that's getting better. You know, since the pandemic, people have realized that actually, if I'm going to have a meeting, I've got to get a lot of value out of this meeting. So
Right.
what's my agenda? What's my structure? What am I looking to get out of the meeting, rather than just having a meeting and hope and living hope and hope that something comes out of that, right?
Right. So you think
That's number one.
that's number one. So in terms of machine learning, do you see more of an AI world coming ahead? Or like you touched upon about
I think
people,
I
you
think
say
6G. We've got to be moving to quantum, right? We've got to be moving
dangerous?
to quantum, right? And we're
Yeah,
now seeing people like Honeywell
quite
delivering
dangerous.
quantum solutions. We're going to IoT. We're going to smart cities,
Right.
right? Smart city infrastructures. Okay, so therefore we've got to take the leap in technology. But are we
In
ready? No.
2021.
Yeah, but are we ready? No, we're not ready. AI general. We've got a certain amount of technology, but we've still got universities with legacy systems.
What's dangerous is actually you're quite right. I think people are not ready. I don't think they see what's coming in terms of
So you talk about mental health. What's going to happen, Naz? Seriously, what is going to happen with a wave of new technology that's going to speed everything up? You're going to have more mental health, more breakdowns.
yeah,
God help us in that
yeah.
situation, because everyone's going to need a significant amount of more help in that period.
Yeah, I think mental health is one of the things that's going to take over obesity soon. Apparently, due to the major flux that people are at home now during this pandemic, got nothing to do, and they're being laid off, and it's not healthy, you know.
And I sit on the board for a technology company. What are we doing? We're looking at innovative, disruptive technology that we can apply to our customers. Look, that's not going to change. There's going to be more money in R&D. There's going to be more money in investment, but there has got to be a balancing. I think this period that we've got right now, 2020 and possibly part of 2021, is a balancing act. It's to get
Right,
humans aligned to what's coming forward with all of the new technology. And I think actually 6G will surpass 5G. And I think things like smart cities are going to be getting closer than we think. Okay, the autonomous car. We're going to be talking about drones. We're going to be talking about things that will enrich our life. But that doesn't mean that everyone's going to be made unemployed. It means it's going to be opening
right,
opportunities. And I think that
right.
humans will be used for their skill, their absolute skill and competence. And where they haven't got that, we're going to have to see an awful lot more of knowledge management, knowledge sharing
Storytelling.
generally, but in training.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
the retail market is based on one fundamental thing: the user experience. I did a blog, I don't know if you saw it recently, it's all about, why the virtual boardroom is not right. It's because what do I want to do? I'm in risk management. I'm going to a board meeting where we're going to possibly talk about 10.86 ideas. But if it's face to face, okay, I can have over 13 or 14. That could be the difference between failure and success. So there
Right,
are going to be times when you've got to kind of encapsulate these skills and wisdom around people, and where there's a defined meeting with a defined outcome. But don't forget that the human energy generally allows something called creativity. We have lost creativity with a working from home environment. And it doesn't matter who says they've got a creative portal to transform humans. No, 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 no. But I think it's using human time for the best possible outcome, which is really going to set the path for the future.
I think the future, yeah, you're totally right. I think the future is going to be in that path. I do see a lazy society
Yeah.
coming ahead in terms of the way our productivity has now calmed down. Well, so going into 2021, what are the dangers? What's going on? What's the dangers ahead of us, Geoff? What do you see in terms of the key technologies? And are we in trouble? Are organizations in trouble? Do you see a positive factor out of this, or do you see some sort of troubling sort of factor out of this
Look, we
in
we are
2021?
in trouble. We are in trouble, but I think we're swiftly making a jump
Right.
towards 2021 and beyond, because we know we've got to. Okay, flaws in people, flaws
What's the
in
trouble?
management, flaw
What's the
in
trouble?
boards. Yeah, it can take us further into quicksand. What we've got to do is we've got to apply ourselves to bigger and better. And I said earlier, leadership has got to step up. I mean, that's a very good look. As a board director, I've had to step up because that's what you have to do.
You did that at Lloyd's, right? You were one of the key judges.
That's correct. And I presented the Data Excellence Award for Lloyd's Bank National Business Awards, and I was very proud to do that.
So my followers here, Geoff was privileged to do that. I think Geoff nailed it there in terms of leadership. You did take up that position as a leadership. Is that something you want to demonstrate to others as well in terms of what?
Yeah, I think so. But what I want to share with you, the companies that actually were on the shortlist submitted, they demonstrated beyond the criteria and the checklist of all the things that we needed to evaluate: the gravitas, the strength, the courageous spirit, the mindset, the psychological entrepreneurial spirit that says we're not giving up. We're not giving up at all costs. We will not give up, because what these characteristics are within us all. And what I really enjoyed about it was that then the winner was courageous, was victorious in everything that they did, because they were a truly worthy winner. And we need to see that more, not just in an award ceremony. We need to see that nationally within the UK. That actually, what do you want? Do you want to thrive? Things aren't just going to happen because you think they're going to happen.
Not going to be given a gold platter. Yeah.
And what you got? It's a measure of the measures of the people and the competencies of growing. What do I need to grow?
Right.
Or are we going to sit back and say, oh well, unfortunately it was COVID and that was the response? No, COVID is just an event. There have been many events over the past. Black Friday, 9/11, 2000. Yeah. 2000 bubble, 2008, 2009, SARS, Ebola. Where do you want me to stop? The list goes on. There's tragedy all the time. This has got a severity, but people have to understand they've got to step up, and you've got to thrive, because the most important thing is survival. And those characteristics, as I said before, all entrepreneurs carry them, because that's why they started the business in the first place.
Right. I want to roll back to all my followers all tuning in right now. We're all talking about what's going on, the transition now from here to 2021. This is a big change. This is a big impact happening. I think we're going for a bit of a pinnacle stage right now with the way the vaccine is starting to roll through. What do you mean trouble? I just want to touch upon where do you see do you see trouble, or do you see more positive elements coming out of the technology that's been rolled through now to 2021?
I think we're going to be forced to look at transformation.
Okay.
And I think that you're not going to have a choice. You either upskill and learn and transform, or you'll go backwards in life and business. So I think we need a bigger influence by government. I think we need better government intervention. But I think if we can grow, and come on, we're talking Darwinism here. We're talking the ability to adapt, be more flexible, and grow and be strong. And don't be afraid to do that.
Well, sometimes government stops that, don't they? They do put a curfew, they put regulation, red tape, and they take a lot of money out of it.
No, I mean, government have got to be intrinsic. Government have got to be a part of this. If companies if 6.5 million small businesses in this country want to survive, then government have got to be an intrinsic part of that process, because they're not going to make it without that support. They've done that much support so far. Okay?
Well, they've been attacking. Yeah.
Right. And it needs to be more. And I think that I would say I've got 5 little points, which probably might not be a bad thing to end on. Because I know you're looking at the time, Naz. Yeah.
No. All good. I think I was actually looking into your thoughts on where we're going with the trouble.
Let's finish with the trouble. And I think these things will address the trouble. And I think number one is the cost of confidence. I talked earlier about why trust and purpose is so important. You've got to have compassion now in leadership. You've got to be empathetic. You've got to start listening more, and you've got to have a better level of understanding. And I think that if we can bring that into business, we're going to have a better level of employee engagement. which takes away some of the trouble and puts people on a journey, on a path to success. And everybody wants to be a part of greatness. You don't just work for a company for the paycheck. Your days are over if that's your only idea.
Those days are over, yeah. You got to prove something now, right?
Right. And I think that compassion should turn into a purpose and a clear direction and passion, actually, and motivation in what you're doing. Number two, it's the virtual century. Get used to it, right? Some of the things we're talking about VR. You were talking about smart cities. We're talking about factories of the future. We're talking about autonomous vehicles, drones. We're talking about a better way to be able to communicate. So you don't need to spend all your time on your favorite app. Yeah, I think you're going to turn the corner to having a screen, and you'll say to your screen, right, this is what I want to do. Boom. And
the millennials in their generation, they're all tuning into TikTok and...
Look, in 1999, I met Bill Gates. Bill Gates stood up, and basically said, this is the future. It's one screen, home office business, whatever you want. Right. So that means technically the transformation that we're trying to make is we're surfing away, we're researching, we're trying to find things. You don't need to find things anymore because the future will enable you to do things more effectively. So that means better life balance, well-being, sustainability, but more importantly, the ability that whatever gift you have on the planet, you'll be able to use that gift in the best possible way, but you'll be able to use it because of the virtual century, because of the technology that we've got coming in, right? Every business now is going to be a health business, right? So you're going to go to the office and there's going to be skeleton crews. I don't think you're going to be forced to work in the office 5 days a week. You'll be lucky if you're in the office twice a week. And I think you're going to have a strong set of policy laws for the health of your employees. That's the compassion. That's the empathy that I talked about. That's the understanding I have. And you're going to have to spend more money in investing in better quality people that have an idea of, and I can see things like the chief purpose officer. I can see things like the chief trust officer. I can see additions to organizations that sustain this and help it, because what you've got to have wellness. You're going to be in a health ecosystem. So you're going to have, I've got to do 256 steps an hour, right? People are going to go fitness mad. You're going to get rid of this obesity, right? And you're going to have good mental health, because if you don't have those, you're never going to be able to deliver at the speed that we're talking about with interconnected technology, right? So I think that's really important. Finally, number 4, isolation. As far as I'm concerned, the isolation piece is the grand cocoon. You incite loneliness, okay? You incite people that, certainly in pandemic version 1,
what about relationships?
Relationship, lack of creativity, lack of innovation, because they're depressed, and so I think the communication and the well-being and the way you use technology and how humans have got to be at the center of this is that we create balance across 1 to 4. And then finally, this is also 2021 is going to be the reinvention era.
2021, yeah. The year of the
invention. It's going to be the reinvention era. I talked earlier about Darwin. The ability to be flexible, adaptable. And, his famous saying is, it's not the strongest species that survives, it's the one that's more adaptable to change. We're all unique, Naz. We're all unique beings, human beings. But we've got to be able to reinvent ourselves. And reinvention is not a one-time era. It's going to be constant. Because it's what we're dealing with is we're going to be dealing with more constant change. More disruption is a daily event for you. And more importantly, we then need to apply ourselves and reinvent ourselves in order to progress. Okay, this isn't going to be a one-off thing.
There's a lack of that, Geoff, or do you think there's more of that now?
So much more is going to be coming, and that's why you've got to have a strong corporate purpose, because the strong corporate purpose is the glue. It's the relationship.
It's the main thing, isn't it?
It's bringing everyone together on purpose. And now you can understand why we've now done a 360 behind my 5 points.
So what's one key takeaway for 2021? We've got loads of listeners listening to this. I've got a very big audience. I'm connected to a lot of people. What's the one key takeaway we're gonna share moving ahead in 2021, and what we need to know in terms of wrapping this interview up?
Read my book.
Right. Okay. That's a good one.
And read my book, Purposeful Discussions, but more importantly, the new book. My business partner and I are definitely writing the new book, which is going to be all based on trust. Trust in business, trust in government, trust in life. So I think, look,
and tech-wise, I just want to dig in a little bit in terms of is there a fear ahead of us, or is there going to be a calm?
If I'm going to give you one,
I just want to get round to the organisations who watch this. Tech-wise,
if you want one key takeaway, nobody can hide, right? You know that with technology, no one can hide. And frankly, and speaking, 24 hours, 7 days a week, technology will know where you are, what you're doing, what your heart rate is, and will know pretty much everything you're doing. If you know Tim Berners-Lee, who was the inventor of the internet, he's just created a new startup company which basically allows the individual to own and give access and permissions on to the data if you use the portal. So they can't exploit your data like Google and AWS have done over many, many years, and amongst others, right? Facebook, etc.
So one takeaway is that.
So I think we're going to get to a point, because the speed, right? The speed that I'm talking about with 6G, right? I think that we're going to get to a point where we will own our data, and I think that's the right approach. We will own our data, so therefore less exploitation, right? But I think that it shows now that
moving ahead.
The big takeaway for me to give to you and your listeners is that planning is critical now. A lot of people haven't made the jump. They haven't made the transformation. They haven't wanted to make that. And we're very good in the UK at doing things after the event. In my professional opinion, after the event will be too late. You've got to engage with the now. Walk away from legacies. Invite the new into your life. Get to reinvention. Really get reinvention and map out the future. Now, that is incredibly important when you start looking at the technology. Less is more in many applications, and you've got to embrace
what organizations should do as well. Like
organizations
all my followers who are watching this.
Yeah, for some companies, scenario planning may mean business consolidation for some, right? In bigger companies, we're already seeing consolidation being sort of sped through their organizations. For smaller businesses, in order for you to survive, you've got to really check
be someone special.
Yeah, you've got to be a disruptor. This is all about disruption. And as I said before, there are going to be no mirrors for
cause for concern. Is there any cause for concern there, Geoff? Like telling my followers?
I'm excited by it, because look, never have you ever worked through an era where so much positivity in change and change and transformation. And I think that we're going to embark on some. I reckon in the next 12 months, you can see another 360 on the way we behave, and more importantly, and that's why fostering trust, fostering purpose, fostering people. We've got to start trusting people that we work with. If you don't trust them, and it's mistrust, take them away from your life. Take them away from your circle. Your inner circle is going to be your support system. And, in business life, and that's very important. So adapt and be flexible, make the changes. You'll see the positives. You'll see but we've got a lot of people right now just running around, not knowing what to do, no direction. Analogy could be in London, 8 million hamsters running around and not connecting. And we've got the ability to connect now, but we've got to connect with trust, because business is done via trust. Relationships are all based around trust, right? And the genesis of trust is really what we need to apply. And I think I'm seeing hard evidence, facts and evidence on the fact that trust is being applied, but it's too slow for the technological changes. And that's why humans need to be at the center of this.
There you go, guys. So we've wrapped up the whole thing. We've done a whole whole year from 2020 to 2021, sort of a 360 degrees turn here in some sense, going into 2021. We've done the full 360. So it's great to get Geoff on board. What an interesting video interview. I don't think you'll get this sort of content, reading the Times or, whatever materialistic papers, but you do get it from Geoff. So I think, do get in touch with Geoff. 2021, we wanted to talk about this, Geoff, and I think there's a lot ahead of us, right, in 2021, you think?
There's some fantastic things to be excited about. And I think that, never has there been a time in life, in the world than right now. And it's revolutionary. That's why we've got to reinvent ourselves. Time to reinvent ourselves. Time to really step up the bar and really
before AI
demonstrate.
Does.
Yeah, and look, what online learning. There's no shortages about reading books. There's no shortage in being able to learn more, self-educate, educate from home, educate with lecturers and professors online. Share with LinkedIn is a sharing portal. Share reports, share information, share data.
Yeah, there's a lot more corporates, directors. You wouldn't see that 10 years ago.
You wouldn't see that, right? So you've got the biggest opportunity to engage with one another. The problem you've got is whether that is done in the right way. And I think that fostering trust, the glue, everything I've talked about today, it has to be around trust, because otherwise you're not going to take the commitment. And everything I've talked about, if you don't, you're not committed, you'll be left behind, right? True. So, passion, commitment. Some people are going to have a completely different direction with their careers in the next 12 months. Trust me. True. It's going to happen.
True.
And they have no idea it's going to happen. This is the
you don't know what's coming. Nobody knows what's coming. You don't know where you're going to be tomorrow.
You've never been with an opportunity where innovation can be so amazing. I mean, I think we talked before about Isaac Newton in 1666 produced his best ever innovation in a 2-year lockdown in a cottage in Lincolnshire. Well, look, we are in year 2020, and effectively within 12 months you wouldn't recognize the planet. I mean, it's completely different. And the other issue is also sustainability. We didn't touch on that, but I think climate change and sustainability and CSR are going to be big subjects, especially with the new president of the United States coming in. I think he's got a massive agenda for climate change and the green and recycling and corporate responsibility around CSR. So I think that's going to be another big one as well.
All right, there you go, guys. So I think we've done it all. So what a great way to get Geoff on board. Geoff, it's a privilege to interview you. I hope all my followers enjoyed that piece of video interview. There's one thing I want to say is the fact that I think also, digital money is changing as well. We're going more of a digitized sort of money, instead of using hard currencies now. So I think there's going to be a lot of change also in terms of money as well, where we're going with that. So, Geoff, I think it's great to have you. It's
always a pleasure, Naz. It's great to be here with you.
And I think we did the whole thing. So I hope you all enjoyed the video interview, guys. Do tune in and do connect to Geoff. You can find him on LinkedIn, and it's great to have him. Thanks, Geoff. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Naz. Great to be here. Cheers.
Thanks.